This is the most underrated exotic armor in Destiny 2 PvP. My name is Physics, and I'm here today to spread the gospel of the Mask of the Quiet One. I've been screaming on socials about this build since Renegades dropped and put it to the test for you all last weekend in Trials on Midtown, and let me tell you, it passed with flying colors and was so successful that it warranted a full build video. My need for creating this season's build is to combat increasingly passive playstyles like peekshooting with 120 hand cannons or distance shooting with increasingly lethal scout rifles and pulse rifles. Folks who know me know I prefer an aggressive playstyle where I can chain kills and clutch up big plays for my team. Unfortunately, there are fewer tools available today in order to support that playstyle, especially when it comes to survivability through high burst damage, high range weapons, and more team shooting than ever. Therefore, I revisited this build and updated it with the latest armor set bonuses and armed with Bungie's Renegades patch notes detailing recent buffs to Void Titan. So without further ado, let's get right into it. A little over a year ago, Bungie reworked several exotics, including Mask of the Quiet One. Previously, it granted 5% grenade, melee, and class ability energy upon receiving damage from an enemy with a 1-second cooldown between activations. But Bungie said they wanted to lean into the vampiric nature of the exotic and gave it one of the best exotic armor glow-ups in recent memory by allowing rapid final blows and final blows while at critical health to grant Devour on the go, so long as a Void Super is equipped. Not only this, but on Edge of Fate release, Devour was nerfed across the entire game and is half of what it was before at plus 70 HP baseline, and on Warlock with the Feed the Void aspect equipped, it's double at plus 140 HP. Well, how amped was I when I revisited this exotic to see that Mask of the Quiet One still uses the old plus 140 HP Devour. That's a really big deal, as plus 70 HP in this economy isn't much to write home about when many of the meta weapons feature high burst damage, team shooting is aplenty, and chip damage from abilities is as accessible as ever. So how does this play into the new armor sets? Armor set bonuses were introduced on Edge of Fate release and have provided a level of build synergy that has elevated PvP build crafting to new heights, allowing players to further double down on their build's intended impact. Remember that in PvP, players have 100 HP of health and 130 HP of shields. This means that plus 140 HP from Mask of the Quiet One's Devour would always replenish a player's health and then at least 40 HP shields. Enter the new Potent PvE-sourced armor set with a 2-piece bonus giving flinch resist and 2.5% damage resistance for 7 seconds upon any regen of a player's shields. This means Devour from the Mask, passive regen based on your health stat, assisted regen from something like a Rift, or health bumps such as a second set of armor I made for this build, which is the Iron Banner Iron Panoply 2-piece, which among other benefits yields plus 30 HP after a kill while at critical health, which just means your white 130 HP shield bar is gone, only leaving your red 100 HP health bar. So I'm sure you see the benefit now. Whether you take damage and your shields passively begin to regen or are critical and the Iron Panoply set's plus 30 HP kicks in on kill, you get enough damage resist for 7 seconds to tank 2 uncharged melees, force 3 headshots from 120 RPM hand cannons instead of the normal 2 heads and a body, or survive the normal precision shotgun pellet threshold. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but at the best, you'll get a total of 170 HP from Devour and Iron Panoply, a plus 45 HP overshield from Echo of Vigilance, which we'll get into later, and a 2.5% damage resist instantly after a kill where you were at critical health prior. And this doesn't even take into account the additional overshield you can get from targets hit with shield throw kills, which we'll also discuss later. Now, in practice, many times this assumes you have at least your health bar and aren't taking additional chip damage from other sources. But let me tell you from this past weekend of trials, the clutch ups with this build are legit, as long as your shots are on target. Let's round out the rest of the build. I used Twilight Arsenal because Ward of Dawn got nerfed into the ground a while back, and Sentinel Shield, while my preference has a longer cooldown, making it less relevant for competitive modes. Shield Throw is insane now after Bungie recently buffed its tracking by 77%. I also prefer Suppressor Grenades for their ability to take opposing players out of their super if need be, but also as a totally competent grenade in its own right, especially now that Bungie recently removed the ability to suppress yourself if you throw one at your feet. They also buff the detonation damage by 10%. You'll still take detonation damage if thrown at your feet though, so be aware. Next, I use the offensive bulwark aspect, which gives 200% grenade regen while I have any overshield, along with increased melee range and damage, plus restoring a portion of your overshield and extending its duration if that melee eliminates an opponent. The 200% grenade regen is in addition to the regen benefits of the mask as well. Remember, I also said shield throw provides an overshield scaled by player hits. So this aspect means that the plus 15 HP overshield per hit from shield throw and the 45 HP overshield from the fragment Echo of Vigilance, which we're getting to, will both provide those benefits. Controlled demolition aspect makes any enemies hit with a void ability volatile. And here's a key point. Any damage to a volatile target causes them to explode. Sounds a little too good to be true, but I got several double kills this past weekend from a single shield or grenade toss towards a chip damage group of players. A little known clutch part of this aspect as well is that 90 HP health that you and allies instantly receive when volatile targets explode nearby. And let me tell you that that radius for nearby is huge. A lot of us Void Titan players from year 1 and year 2 main this subclass because of the huge team play potential. Now, someone might ask, why not the Bastion aspect for the Overshield Barricade? But at a high level of play, it's more advantageous to be ready to take up a better position depending upon enemy movements or game objectives than your position and timing being dependent upon placing a barricade. Yes, Bastion does have synergy with offensive bulwark too, but this build is about staying mobile, hitting your shots, and getting rewarded with Devour, Overshields, and Damage Resist going into the second and third fight with an advantage. It's about that dopamine rush that makes this type of gameplay loop one of the most addicting in the shooter genre. Further, Controlled Demolition is just so good at maximizing the multi-kill potential of a single shield or grenade throw, making them even stronger. The fragments include Echo of Starvation to double down on Devour from picking up any orb or void breach I create. Usually I try to at least equip the Reaper mod on my class item to create orbs if I get a kill after popping my barricade. Heavy-handed or firepower mods on your gauntlets or a siphon on the helmet is also a viable source. Echo of Vigilance, as discussed earlier, grants a 45 HP overshield if I eliminate a player while critical, which remember, is the same exact activator as the Iron Panoply armor and Mask of the Quiet One. The synergy is insane. Next is Echo of Persistence, for increasing the duration of your overshield and Devour, each from 5 seconds to 7.5 seconds. Last is Echo of Leeching, for doubling down on your health regen for you and your allies after any melee kill, charged or not. Plus, there's also the plus 10 to your health stat. As for stats, it's important to get your health stat as high as you can to benefit the Ferropotent armor set bonus. The faster you start regen to your shields, the faster you can get your 2.5% damage resistance for the next engagement. I generally always have at least 170 to 174 health stat as it feels the best for fast-paced engagements, while pushing past it provides only diminishing returns. Next, you'll want your super at 100 or as close as possible for competitive modes and especially Trials of Osiris. Unless you're trying to hit a certain damage breakpoint to decrease the TTK on your primary weapon, I try to put any weapon stat points elsewhere. Remember that around 70 stat points for melee, grenade, super, and class ability is the old tier 10 max for your previous armor system. I try to aim for that on each if possible, but keep in mind that offensive bulwark regens your grenade and Mask of the Quiet One regens your melee, grenade, and class every time you take damage. With this build, I generally had my abilities up when I needed them, especially at the beginning of every Trials round. I was pleasantly surprised, and it made a huge impact at times. For completeness, there really isn't anything on this season's artifact to really benefit this build in PvP, and not much in general for Void subclasses unless applying the weaken debuff is a large part of your gameplay loop. What I love about this build most and what I look for when build crafting are builds that support my natural preference for aggressive gunplay with a need for survivability from the damage I'll incur in long multi-enemy engagements. I need any benefits from the build to activate automatically in the background and not requiring me to take extra steps to reap the build's benefits. This allows me to be as efficient as possible and not waste precious time and positioning when seconds often matter to ensure a timely rotation or that a capture point isn't capped. This build is also weapon agnostic in the sense that any weapon choices work with it as long as you're effective with hitting optimal TTK with them. As usual, if you enjoyed this build breakdown and want more, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends below. Leave a comment and tell me what you benefited from, what changes you'd make to suit your playstyle and why, or just to say hello. Be sure to follow on my other socials, jump in our 3,000 Guardian Strong Discord, and stop by my stream if you have time to tell me of your success. I've been here a long time, and as many people know, I'm always looking to celebrate other Guardians and build good community. I want to do more of these videos in the new year as I found motivation from my passion for PvP build crafting, and there's real benefit now to countless builds with the addition of an ever-increasing diversity of armor set bonuses and Bungie's increasing willingness to provide more synergy than ever between build elements. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time.